Hi, I'm Dr. Nemechek, the inventor of the Nemechek protocol for autonomic dysfunction and for autism, developmental learning disorders. And I want to talk a little bit about the issue around fish oil and what's important about fish oil. How is it important for the brain, and what do you have to kind of think about when you're buying the products? Okay, so fish oil contains some important omega-3 fatty acids. These omega-3 fatty acids can come from a variety of things. There's different types. The type in plants, all right, is different than what you find in animal tissue, all right? And there's a lot in fish, and that's why we use fish oil, or people eat fish. The counterbalancing omega-3 is to counterbalance omega-3s are omega-6 fatty acids. These are inflammatory molecules. So you have some omega-3s, you have some omega-6s. And say you're a Stone Age human and you sprain your ankle, you need some omega-6s that you get from plants that you've eaten. Those help repair the, say, your sprained ankle, and they are inflammatory. Omega-3s are anti-inflammatory, and they help shut that off. All right, and that's kind of how they work. And we roughly should have about a 1-to-1 ratio of those things. Some people debate, is it 2-to-1 or 2.5-to-1, but pretty close to each other. The problem is, with vegetable oil, they contain omega-6 fatty acids, a linoleic acid, and because of how much of that's trickling in the food supply, we have about a 20-to-1 ratio of omega-6s to 3. So that's very inflammatory. But so I want to talk about, though, just the 3s today. And so fish oil, you can get some 3s from plants, all right, but that's a different one. That's called alpha-linoleic acid, or ALA, and that's, we generally get a lot of that. All you have to do is eat a little flax or nuts, and it's there's a lot of it even in canola oil, for instance, that you're getting plenty of that. But we need the critical omega-3 called DHA in the brain, all right, and it helps the brain to function, all right. Now, when you buy fish oil, okay, I'm going to hold up a sample here. Here's a brand by Jarrow. They're a pretty good manufacturer. That it has DHA and EPA. So all fish oil has both of those. All right. Now, of these two, EPA and DHA, DHA is the only part that really gets in the brain to any significant level. Of the EPA you take in, maybe 1-2% will actually get in the brain. We need lots and lots of DHA for the brain to function correctly. Okay, so now your standard fish oil, okay, has a lot of EPA, this is running backwards, a lot of EPA and a small amount of DHA, because that's the way most fish are. So it's not a processing thing or something. It's simply, you squeeze oranges and you get orange juice. And a lot of fish have a lot of EPA and a small amount of DHA, and that's what you're going to find in, almost 99% of all the fish oils that are being sold. So we want a fish oil that's a little different balance. Now, let me split this right now. From teenagers to preteens, in my work on repairing their brain, for some reason, the balance doesn't matter. You can use the standard high EPA, lower DHA fish oils, okay? Doesn't really matter. Why? I don't know. It's just when I'm testing their brains, they got chronic injury, and I want to get them to recover, it doesn't seem to matter. So it's a practical thing, all right? Somebody will figure that out later, but we just don't, I don't get hung up on that. As you get older through the teens and clearly into the adulthood, and you're trying to get brain recovery, okay, and control the brain inflammation, you need very high DHA levels, to the point of, for autonomic recovery, where I'm actually measuring autonomic function of people with, say, old concussion damage and things like that, I can't get the brains to recover unless we have about 3,000 milligrams of DHA. So in that case, we use a different fish oil. All right, we use a fish oil that's made from different fish. All right, there's some fish out there that are high in DHA and have low EPA. These are like anchovies, sardines, mackerel, some kind of tuna, even squid. All right. And so I tend to use this brand from now. Okay. There's other brands out there. I'm not sitting here promoting one or another. I'm just telling you in practice what I do. And so 6 of these will give me 3,000 milligrams of DHA, which is important for my particular work in brain recovery. It would have been 14 of these to get the same amount of DHA. So it's kind of easy, right? Which one are you going to take? Okay. And so that's the particular thing with the supplements. Now, another important issue with the supplements is, for a long time, medicine has felt that approximately 50% of the supplements being sold were fraudulent in that they either didn't contain what was actually on the label, or the products were such of a inferior quality that they really were harmful potentially to you. It was around 2012, 2013, something like that, there was a fraud investigation by the New York State Attorney General's office, and they found upwards of 80% of the supplements that they had tested in the state were fraudulent. So the number could be quite high. So you have to be very, very careful in the quality of supplements you buy. You want to look for things that have been tested by somebody that's an independent agency, typically a scientific laboratory, if you can find some data like that. And so that's really the main issue. You can have low DHA, high EPA. This is very healthy for people. It helps with arthritic pain, heart disease, all sorts of great stuff. But in my particular work in trying to get brain recovery, I need a high DHA, low EPA blend. Okay? So both are very good for you, but if you've got a concussion injury, or we're dealing with, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, chronic depression, PTSD, these kind of things, autism, developmental delay in an adult, okay, the high DHA really makes a difference. So I hope you find that useful. I'm Dr. Patrick Nemechek of the Nemechek Autonomic Medicine, located in Buckeye, Arizona. Our website is nemechekconsultativemedicine.com. Thank you.